In a world cloaked in shadows, where the line between reality and myth blurs, 4 intrepid adventurers stand at the precipice of destiny. Welcome to the realm of the Red Sphere Guild. Welcome to the journey of the Red Sphere Guild. This is session 1. Without further ado, I think I should start with a bit of a prequel story as such before we enter the main story. 4 adventurers from different parts of the world are all looking on their job boards, thinking to themselves of the riches that they may be able to afford in future, just with a few small adventures, a couple of delves here, a couple of delves here, and they'll be rich beyond their comprehension. Each young and inexperienced, all level 0, they look and find a singular advertisement upon the board. Needed. Adventures seeking fortune. All skills and experiences accepted. 200 gold pieces on arrival. Meet at the Wizard's Tower. Map on reverse. These 4 adventurers decide this sounds absolutely perfect. Even without having to go deep into the Wizard's Tower himself, without finding out any information about what they need to do, they're going to get 200 gold pieces. Easy money, they think. As they approach the Wizard's Tower, they realise that maybe things weren't exactly as they foresaw. Slowly making their way up through the different floors of the tower, they meet a series of different monsters and minions, clawing to get out, clawing to kill something. However, it's on the 5th floor, the Wizard's Tower, reaching the skies. It appears that the wizard isn't home, and instead, the entire room is burnt. Books are fray, someone has clearly tried to do something. But within this burnt affray, there is one single piece, one single something that is clearly different. The Red Sphere. The Red Sphere itself is easy enough to pick up. They drop it into their pocket, and as a result they move on fairly quickly. They decide to go through all the different amounts of gold in the rooms and the tower itself, and they find 256 gold pieces each. But it isn't until this sphere comes back out of their pocket that they realise something isn't exactly as it first saw. Flying past the sphere, they see a small piece of ragged material, and on it says, "Close the portal to save the world." Clearly, their adventure is only just beginning, and it's something that they all need to work hard to save the world. But as of right now, they have no idea how to do that. So, with money fresh in pocket, they decide to themselves, let's join up, let's do something different, let's see where we can go and how much money we can make. As a result, they decide to hitch a ride on a creaking old wagon that's going through town, and they're offered 30 days work. And as a result, they fly across a series of different towns, and they do the God's mission as such. They find a few places, they help a few abbeys, there's even a watchtower that gets reinforced. As time goes on, they start to think back to that red sphere. They pull it out their pocket, they start looking at it intensely. It has a weird myopic red glow emanating from its centre. It's powerful inside, almost liquid as it goes through. However, on that little note, they find something else. They find a small bit of writing. It's not in a language they understand, it's not in a characters they even understand. Is this Elvish? It's not Dwarf, but it's something else. As a result, they know the first step before they decide to do away with this red sphere is to find someone that can understand this language and convert it for them and tell them exactly what it means. As they move up from the bottom right hand side of the screen, they'll slowly move up to a series of towns and hopefully get towards Baug. Baug is a major city. As a result, it will be able to find someone at the very least that knows some information about what the sphere is and what that language is too. It's at this time that we should probably open up to the characters themselves. We have 4 characters with us. We have Erthor, a dwarf. He's somewhat greedy, but he likes gem collecting, and he really yearns back to the day of the dwarven cities and mines and gems all over the place. This is something within our story that we know that doesn't happen anymore. Dwarves are mostly centred around Baug himself, as a result moving away from their existing mines after a tragic fate befell the Dwarven Empire. We also have Volar, a cleric. She's somewhat clever, somewhat librarian, and as a result she is tendency to try to think problems through rather than just act. She is from the Shrine of Thugas, so she's from the Flame Guild, and as a result she does bring about this strong religious element that we may see further on the adventure. There's Ashwin, a spear fighter. He's somewhat scarred across his face, but he knows that it's his duty to move out from the desert tribes and purge the world of evil and earn some coin. And then finally we have Yuki. Yuki's a marksman and a bit of a dwarven knowledge seeker, a bit of a adventurer seeker, and as a result she is writing this diary. The entire thing is written from her perspective, and as a result, as we slowly go through, we understand exactly why that is too. There is a bit of a guild that comes from this sphere, and as they spend some time moving across the different lands, they decide to stay together for longer than just a couple of weeks. And as a result, they decide to offer up a guild, and as a result do some quick jobs as such to earn their money. As they go through the caravan and the woods finally open up into the open plains, they get an offer to map a forest and then a further 50 gold pieces if they can find a caravan within. And they move across the forest, and it only takes them 12 days travel to get there, and they do exactly that. They find the caravan, but not only that, it's totally gone. There's no one that can help, and as a result they hoard all the different monies together, and as a result they gain themselves a whole 650 gold pieces richer. Obviously now they are swell with money. They decide to themselves, let's make some more. So they go into a local pub and they find out that the first rumour is of a gigantic tree and vermin over the forest, and it appears that something around there might be of interest. As a result, they move towards this tree, they look into and find that not everything appears to be as it should be. There's weird tentacles erupting from its base, and as a result they have to slay an awful monster. But it's on this trip that they find another piece of information. Apparently there is someone, a navigator in Saxby, a town just to the north, that they'll be able to find some information about their dreaded words. When they get there, they find a rather boggy land. They decide to do a couple of jobs. They find something for a local tavern, and apparently whilst they're there, they even find a couple of information. Something about a fort local by, a few things about a 14-day trip away from more information, and there's also a daughter's grave in which they could go to. However, there's one major thing, a castle infested with monsters, and they know that this is their bread and butter. Maybe this is where they can cut their teeth as a guild and start earning some real coin. They make their way through, and eventually they make over 700 gold pieces. And importantly, they're given a piece of information. Bao has a specific man that can help understand their words, and it's something that they even find written on the walls of this castle proper. They know there's something going on here, some type of language that combines both the sphere and the monsters that appear to be happening all around them. Using the information that they gain from a few rumours here and there, they decide to go around this town, and within this town they do find someone that speaks these very words. It says, find the spheres and speak the words. So now they know two bits of information. First of all, they need to find some spheres. Second of all, they need to speak the words. And then finally, if they speak these words, the portal should shut. But what portal? And why? And how many spheres are there? They decide to think about things, and they realise that, well, maybe if this red sphere was a fire-based sphere, maybe there are others for the other elements, water, air, earth and ether. Maybe there's something that they can do to compile these together to work out if there's something that they can combine. Maybe there's some type of magical power. They just don't know. In the city of Baug, they finally come about some answers. They decide to set up within an inn, and they start asking questions in regards to how the people work together. There appears to be 5 different areas, different factions. First of all, you have the religious zealots. Then you have the military-controlled area, a prison, a library, a castle, and a northern gate. It appears these two have allied themselves together, leaving a power gap as such in the rest of the city. Lord Vish, the previous owner of the city, has worked with the traders for many years but isn't able to really move forward with them. There are issues, shall we say, about getting goods into the city with the zealots and the military control. And then finally there are the Dwarven Quarter. The dwarves, well known to Urthor, are less than pleased with the relationship that they have in Bao. Always push to the outside, always push towards this far corner, over the river. They're never part of the city itself. But it's within this inn that they suddenly realise something's going afoot. In burst some monsters, some military guys in big iron armour, and they haul off our adventurers in one foul swoop, halfway through writing the diary. They're thrown directly into a prison, and without any words or anything like that, they're convicted guilty. Guilty of what though? That they don't know. They do know one thing in particular though. It's now or never. They have to escape. They've heard people outside. They know what the guards are talking about. Apparently executions will come soon. They decide to get out of the prison cells. They take over the guards. They find their packs, and they even find a healer. They push themselves further and further into the prison, and then eventually they find small tunnels networking their way through, and they're able to exit and find hope. They decide to run away from the city as soon as possible, and as a result they decide to go to a place called Gamley. It's their next big town. They know that because it's apparently friendly. However, in order to get there, they need to really get a shift on. As a result, they go through a smaller town. It's only 9 days' walk, but as they walk in, they realise something major is afoot. There are pirates absolutely everywhere. They decide to make a friendly introduction to the guards, but the guards decide, no, these guys are up to no good, and so they attack. This results in them having to go through the entire town, networking their way through all the different buildings, killing all of the pirates that are fitted within, and the major owner, Sidel. It's these town people, however, that give them the greatest bit of information they possibly can, and that's quite simply, they don't know anything. But they do know around here that there's only one town that can keep quiet, and that's Gamley. Why Gamley? Well, Lord Vish, as we know from Bao, has worked with Gamley for many years, and as a result they're friendly towards each other. However, because the leader in Gamley decided to forsake the alliance that they previously had, Lord Vish decided to open up communications with other towns and villages, and as a result, sadly, knowing that Gamley wouldn't come to their aid, other towns were able to be controlled by pirates. However, the innkeeper said there's a bit of information that he thinks that might be interesting to know, and it's this. If you set up a camp within Gamley itself, there may be parties willing to help. However, in order for this information, they had to do him a favour too. They decided to go through his tavern, going into the 3 different boundaries of his basement, clearing out all the monsters within. Apparently a necromancer had managed to set up within his tavern itself without him even knowing. So when they do that, they finally move down into Gamley. Gamley is a fairly nice town. It's fairly detailed. There are different sections including some farms, some areas of parks, there's some markets and guilds, there's some industry even, there's some nobles and some elites, there's even some warrens, a poorer area, shall we say. They decide that it might be interesting to set up a guild on the boat side itself, and so they go to the sea, and they purchase a small building. It's a building that needs some work, shall we say. However, they build this guild up into a small but efficient building with a chapel of Thugas, a hospital, a trophy room, some living spaces, and even a couple of stables as well. But they only own the top floors, not the bottom. As they're doing this guild up, Vola, our cleric, just to remind everyone, cleric of Thugas, she gets a message, and as a result she has to go away to do an urgent mission. It's within this mission that she goes away, and she doesn't, let's say, learn a lot, but she finds some rumours that could be interesting. The first is a mill. There's a local mill that's being overrun by some zombies, and Whilst it may not be a particularly interesting work, we know that they can at least get 100 gold pieces for their work there. There's also Tusaka village. There's a golden globe, a totem, sounding somewhat similar to their own, however it's been stolen by someone. There's also Hawksall ruins. Apparently someone has seen this red sphere before and they know it has something to do with Hawksall, but they don't exactly know what. And then finally, they get information from Lord Vish himself. There's a library that needs evacuating of military control. He's starting to come about with a plan in order to take back the city. They decide the first one will be the mill. As a result, they go close, they dig into it and they find not that much. Yeah, they got their 100 gold pieces, in fact they got 400, but yeah, it was a bit of a dead end. So instead they go back to Gamley, they decide that maybe they should spend all their money on something. So they decide, how about we'll get a big boat, maybe start up some trading or something like that. This whole sphere thing might come to nothing. Finally they do go to Lord Vish's emissary and they say, and they say, we will help, we'll do everything that we can. However, there's not that much that we can help with right now. There's a few things that we need to look into. And Lord Vish says, say no more. However, there might be something of interest. There's a librarian that is currently captured, my daughter in fact, that may be able to help. She's very learned and she knows things and she can research things. The library of Baug is well known for the tomes that it holds. But they decide to go for Tusaka. But Tusaka, just to remind everyone, there's a totem there that looks somewhat similar to their red sphere, they believe. They go through and they find a fighting pitch right in the centre. They have to fight their way through and they have to do everything they can. And whilst they do find the totem, and whilst it does look like the red sphere, it's not exactly the same. It's pure gold. A representation of their globe perhaps, but there is something different about it. A small symbol on the side, a symbol drawn out here. As you can see, there are 9 different spheres written here. A divine, an arcane, a demonic, a runic, fire, earth, water, air, and one of life. Maybe it's these spheres that need to put together. Maybe it's these spheres that they need to bring together to close the portal, to end the scourge across the world. We'll end session 1 there. I hope to see you on session 2 shortly. Thank you.